Swing it away. Leo Rivas, what have you done? Wow! Wow! Cal Raleigh stands alone. Cal Raleigh has transcended to legendary status. Hustling in, diving for the ball, making the catch is Robles. Holy smokes, what a play! A season-saving diving catch by Victor Robles.
What a time it has been to be a Mariners fan. Like, they are just coming off of an insane sweep over the Houston Astros, and all I can say is I'm just at a loss of words of what really happened over that past weekend. But before we even go even further about it, Trident, how do you feel right now?
Probably as good as I have felt about baseball since they clinched a spot in 22 for sure. And then it's a feeling I've never had. They are on the verge of winning the American League West, which last time they did that, I was a freshman in high school and I was naive and it didn't mean a lot to me at that point because I just figured the Mariners are good. So of course they won the division. But this is a uncharted territory and it is a weird feeling, but I like it.
I was 9 years old when that happened, and that's when I got my first ever Game Boy Advance. The Xbox hadn't even been released yet. Halo was still in development. The Seahawks were at Husky Stadium, and we had a basketball team called the Seattle Supersonics. I think did I get that right? Yeah, the Seattle Supers. I know, I'm just kidding, but that's how long it's been since the Mariners have even been in this kind of position, like comfortably. Like, we're talking comfortably, somewhat comfortably in the position to win division, because in 23, it was still very possible. They were still in it, but they were still playing with the backs against the wall, where they had to play basically perfect baseball just to maybe squeak by. And that would have had to depend on many crazy, silly scenarios. But right now, Mariners' magic number is now 3 for division. I believe it's 2 for the playoff berth alone, 4 for the bye. But we're going to go over all of that. But before we even get further, I just want to say, if you are going to the Mariners games, the last 6 games, because the Mariners are really pushing for it, please use my promo code Rooftop Sports to get your $20 off, and also use JS Trident for your $20 off in case you can't use mine for whatever reason. And shout out to the 2 fans that have used it in the last 48 hours, because looks like that promo code they use must be based on the game. And I'll say this too, since the Mariners are also prematurely talking about playoff tickets already, like, get dibs on it, it's like, okay, fine. Use my promo code Rooftop Sports and JS Trident for that if the Mariners are playing in that territory, which before we get into Houston series, I couldn't help but laugh, like, when I saw the promo where it was like, get dibs on playoff tickets and priority. And I was like, I get it. It's business practice. Everyone does it. They have to do it. It's purely a business thing, but it just feels funny and awkward when the Mariners do it, because we've seen this before. Like, they do that and then they miss the playoffs. And I know we're supposed to be positive about it, but I just couldn't help but just chuckle a little bit, where I was like, oh, that's so cute of them to do that without anything locked up yet. Technically, mathematically.
Yeah, no, technically, it is funny, like, that they haven't actually clinched a spot yet. But I mean, they will. But it always is, like you said. I mean, teams have to do that. Like, they have to get out in front of it. I remember getting stuff for the Seahawks when I lived in Seattle, and they were 7-7, and we get stuff about, hey, reserve your playoff seats. They've got to send it out, try to get that stuff going, ahead of time. But yeah, it always is a little bit like, hey, let's clinch first. Let's just get in, and then do it.
Even though it is business practice, they have to do it. Like, no matter what, no matter how hopeless it is. Like last year, it was still funny to look at it last year when they're like on the verge of missing. It's like, oh yeah, hey, get your dibs for 2024 playoffs, and we're like, yeah, but they're pretty much out of it at this point. But they still had to do it because business reasons. So I don't fault them for doing it, but at the same time, I still laugh at it. At least
it's a dark humor. It's a dark humor.
Yeah, there we go. So Houston series, and words can't even explain how that series really went. Like, first, the Mariners' first game, they impressively won that game handily. I think it was like 4-0, and we can probably should check on that score for my legitimacy. But that very first game, they pretty much they handled Houston. Yeah, it was 4-0. It was literally a 3-hitter of a game. Brian Wu was just absolutely amazing, but then he did get a little bit of a scare injury, which is why he was out of the game by the fifth inning. End of the fifth inning. He gave up only 1 hit, had 7 strikeouts. So it looks like he was on pace to like possibly like pitch a shutout because he was on 67 pitches. Maybe not so much of a shutout, but definitely at least 7 strong innings. But then the bullpen had to really pick up the slack. Edward Bizardo, he pitched 2 strong innings with 2 strikeouts. Matt Brash gave up 1 hit. Same thing with Munoz, but they still took care of business. And that was also helped with the offense of good vibes only with his 47th home run of the year. Julio blasted for his 31st. Naylor also blasted. Robles hit his first home. And how about Victor Robles? Ever since Victor Robles came back to the lineup, he has been paying more than just dividends. And hats off to Victor Robles. And there's going to be another reason to praise him in just a few moments, but he's really stuck it out for this team. Like, he took one for the team back in April when he made that insane catch against San Francisco Giants. I remember covering that game, and I was just so shocked when he was hurt, but he still gave up his body for that, just to give the team any kind of a chance to win the game. They didn't win, but you still got to give it to Victor Robles for being able to sacrifice his body. Luckily, he's back. Sure, he went through a little tough stretch with the whole got hit 5 times and then didn't react appropriately. But from that, I don't know where this team would be without Victor Robles, at least for right now.
Yeah, he's been clutch. He's really and added some great defenses, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like, I'm not sure exactly what it is, but we're gonna get there eventually. But for Saturday, this game was even more exciting to follow as the Mariners were just slowly chipping them away 1 inning at a time. And the most memorable thing before we get to the actual key moment was when big dumper Cal Raleigh, he broke Ken Griffey Jr.'s record when he had 56 home runs in 1997 and 1998. And Cal Raleigh blasted his 57th. It was on the right side of the bat, and he hit another like opposite field home run. And all I can say is congratulations, Cal Raleigh, as you have been nothing short of just amazing this season. Not only your home runs, your leadership with the team, the ability to throw guys out, even though it's hard to do it these days in Major League Baseball. But I think Cal Raleigh, as each day goes by, he is really making an excellent case for MVP. Now, personally, I don't think it will happen, and I want it to happen, but there's that little part of me that's like, Aaron Judge, who knows? But either way, Cal Raleigh, this is like one of the not only the greatest individual performance in Mariners history, but one of the greatest individual performances as a Major League Baseball player. He broke Mickey Mantle's record. He broke the catcher's home run record of Salvador Perez. And now there's a conversation where he might be heading towards not only 60 home runs, but let's get to Aaron Judge's record of 63. Other than I want the Mariners to win division, but let's get Cal Raleigh. Let's do it. Let's get to 63. Let's break that record because being part of a huge American League record, and it is fun to beat a Yankee record too. So I mean, the Mickey Mantle record, no one could beat that record for that long of a time. So what he's been doing has been nothing short of impressive and unprecedented.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's gonna have a good pitching staff to do it against. And the Rockies never want to count your chickens before they hatch. Baseball's weird, things happen, but certainly the right team to maybe hit a couple home runs against this week as well. But like you said, I mean, the first goal is to get in the playoffs and wrap up the AL West before we, I'd rather have that than Cal breaking the record. I'm sure Cal would as well.
Yeah, definitely. But we all know deep down that he wants to get to the World Series. I mean, we just remembered just 2 years ago, literally just 2 years ago, and starting to feel like it was 5 years ago, But Cal Raleigh did criticize the management for like, hey, why aren't we spending money? Why is Texas doing it? Why is everyone else doing it? And now this time it seems that management in some way, they have finally listened to him. Like when Jerry DePoto and Justin Hollander, now it's hard for me to give them credit, but I'll give them credit for getting Eugenio Suarez at such a fair price. Like nobody thought all it took was Tyler Locklear and a couple guys. Now, no disrespect to Tyler Locklear, but we were expecting like Harry Ford territory, and they were able to pull that off to get Cal Raleigh. I'm sorry, Eugenio Suarez and Josh Naylor. Josh Naylor has been a huge asset to the Mariners, and he can play well at T-Mobile Park. So there is also that. But there's still more to cover for this game as I'm getting off topic. Then the scare started to happen. I believe that was when Carlos Vargas, he gave up that grand slam home run to Jeremy Pena. That made it a 6-4 game. And all of us were thinking, could this be happening? Like you said in your video on that post game where you were saying that, could it be the American League division like meltdown? Could that happen? And it looked like it was going to happen in the bottom of the 9th inning. I think there was like 2 men on. I think it was like man on second and man on first. And then Carlos Correa hit this like blooper. And it looked like that it was just going to drop in for a base hit. They'd probably get one more run, or there's miscommunication, a failed diving attempt where the ball could go all the way to the wall. That ties the game easily. And then out of nowhere, Victor Robles makes probably one of the greatest catches, I think, in Mariners history. And sure, we can say, well, Griffey had better catches. Cammy, Ichiro had better catches, but it was about the situation where it possibly and may have saved the season. Like, imagine if Victor Robles doesn't catch that. Where would the magic number be? Would it still be stuck at 4? Could it have been 5? Would that have changed the complexion of the next game? But good thing we don't have to know, because Victor Robles not only made a diving catch, but he also turned it into a double play because Cam Smith, I think it was Jake Myers, he jumped the gun. He thought that was going to drop. And then Victor Robles was like, hey, here you go. And then to Polanco and Polanco to Crawford, here you go. Double play. So another reason why we're giving nothing but praises for Victor Robles.
Yeah, incredible play. Like you said, it really did have kind of a 2022 game 1 feel there when it was 6-0, and then the Astros just kind of not really chip away. I guess they get the one big swing from Jeremy Pena, which makes it 6-4. And then, like you said, they're putting runners on. The 8th too. They had 2nd and 3rd with 1 out, and Bizzardo and Spire get out of that. And then in the 9th inning, I'm with you. I think when you take into account circumstance of the game, I think that Robles catch is top 5 of Mariners history. I mean, the Ichiro Spider-Man catch is probably a better play, but that was a meaningless game in June or something against the Angels, that I don't even think the Mariners won the game. Not taking that away from Ichiro. It's not his fault they didn't win that game. But I think when you take all that into effect, the Robles catch is number 1. Like you said, too, that gets by him or whatever, drops in. It changes, obviously, the impact of the series, because they probably would have lost that game. And then who knows what their mentality is on Sunday. How are you going to come back from a game like that? How do you come back after blowing 6-0 when it looks like the division's finally yours and Houston just makes a statement and takes that game if Robles doesn't catch it? So, and then I have no idea what Myers was doing. He wasn't even the tying run. His run was meaningless. I mean, obviously it's got to score, but like he was just the run to cut it to 1. Like, dude, you don't need to be, what are you doing? So, I mean, that's just, I don't know what Jason Myers. Why am I?
Jake Myers.
Jake Myers. Thank you. I'm like, wait, what is his name? Jake Myers is running home there. But it kind of just seemed like a perfect, like the stars were aligned for the Mariners. I mean, so many years Victor Robles is not diving in, or whoever's in right field and catching that. That's dropping in for a hit. And this year it's not. The Mariners are making the play.
Yeah, and like I said, good thing we did not have to know the big what if could have been had Victor Robles not made that catch. And maybe 5 to 10 years from now, depending how much of an impactful run the Mariners make, maybe someone like me will make a butterfly effect video going, what if Victor Robles doesn't make that catch? And then that could have like changed the course of history, not only in baseball, but could have been a change of history in our personal lives too, if you think about it, because butterfly effect is a very powerful thing. And that would lead into the confidence going into tomorrow, where I didn't get to watch this game because hashtag don't quit your day job, but maybe me following the don't quit your day job was good karma for the Mariners. Now that's just my own personal thing. So whatever. Don't credit me for that. I don't want to take credit for that. Not if the team is first, as much as I'm a diehard fan and love to take credit for things, but 7 runs in the second inning, and that's where Cal Raleigh just blasted his 58th home run of the season. Also, J.P. Crawford stepped up for his 12th home run of the season, and I think that was with a grand slam home run, and pretty much there was not really much response after that. It was just, Houston just scored. Oh, yeah, they scored in the third inning, 7th inning, 8th inning, but it really didn't amount to much. But I can nitpick that Caleb Ferguson and Carlos Vargas still gave up their runs. So I'm not saying that it's something to really overlook or overthink about it, but it's something the Mariners may want to consider, that if they make the playoffs, and the only reason I'm saying that because nothing is locked up, but if they make the playoffs, they may want to consider like where they're going to prioritize Carlos Vargas and Caleb Ferguson. Now they have done great things. Don't get me wrong. I love Carlos Vargas's talent. Like, the talent is just not in question. He just got to learn his control and the willingness to mix it up. But once we get to playoffs, or if we get to playoffs, there's also going to be added depth to the bullpen, where maybe Bryce Miller is going to have that opportunity, because I think out of all the starters, I think Bryce Miller is most likely going to be relegated to a more relief role, and then having the four other starters to be on the starting rotation. But again, Mariners still got to lock that playoff spot before we can even talk about any of this kind of scenario anyway. But not really much to say about yesterday's game, or the final game of that 3-game series. It was basically safe to say that it was really just a statement game. Like, not only did the Mariners just sweep the Mariners, or sweep the Astros, they basically were saying, like, by the game, they were basically saying, hey, we're better than you now. This is not your year right now. Like, it was definitely, like, I'm saying it to them, like, sure, it was their year since 2017, but this time it's like, no, it's our turn, fools. Also, consider us even for 2023 with that whole other Houston disaster series they had. But it seems like this one was like hey, you got yours, now it's our turn.
Hey, at least in 23, we did win one of those games. We won the middle game, at least, in that series. So it went a little better. But yeah, it really was. And, it was a statement series from the Mariners. And yesterday, I thought maybe there was a chance that, Houston would win, just based on the Mariners maybe being a little exhausted from Saturday. And Houston kind of season on the line for them. And I thought there was a chance that Altuve leads off the game with a double. I'm thinking, okay, Houston might win this one today. And still a great series for the Mariners. Went in, won it. And then they have that big second inning and blast Alexander for 7 runs. And it was enough to hold on to win it. Like you said, a little shaky from the middle relievers. I know you said you want to watch it. Ferguson did have Altuve struck out, and they didn't call it, and then it's still, I mean, he wasn't good, right? But it's like maybe that would have changed it a little bit. But it's definitely probably the one thing the Mariners are going to have to figure out. But like you said, Bryce Miller, who I think profiles pretty well for the bullpen, is probably going to be in there in the postseason, would be my guess. We might learn a little bit more on this homestand, especially if they can get some things wrapped up here in the Colorado series. Maybe they try him in the bullpen in the Dodgers series and see how it works, stuff like that.
Well, yeah, so it'll be very interesting what they're going to do with the starting rotation for the rest of the week. But we can let's also hope that Brian Wu is healthy, because he did have a little bit of a scare, but they did not, and they just put him on a day-to-day, so they did not have to put him on the IL. So that is a good news there, unless there is something that I am completely missing about Brian Wu. But I just feel that if he was actually on the IL, I think my phone would have blown up by now, and there would have been YouTube videos anyway. So yeah, it says day-to-day, according to Ryan Divish. So I think he's okay for now. But so
Another
we'll
reason to
just
get the
move.
bye,
Yeah.
though.
Another reason, absolutely, because Mariners they've really managed their starters like more than anything. Like even with Dan Wilson away from Scott Service, they're still going with that. They still love resting their starters. At this point, I've came to finally just accept it. Back
But
in my
it's maybe paid off. It's maybe paid off because they pitched really well in Houston. A lot of other teams dealing with injuries, and the Mariners are finishing strong. So maybe this year it kind of paid off for them a little bit because Gilbert, although Wu gets hurt, but like Kirby looked good on Saturday. Gilbert looked great on Sunday. So maybe this year that they made it work for him.
finally, because after years past, we were like, kind of had the mentality of like, can they like lock the playoffs first and then they can start doing those little rest your arms things? But it also kind of helps that, not saying it was a good thing, but Logan Gilbert and George Kirby were given a little bit more time to recover themselves. So that got them a little bit more fresh. That's kind of like a reverse psychology thing. Now, I'm not saying that an injury is a good thing or anything, but when there is injuries, there are silver linings where they got more time to rest their arms, especially when it's in the more early days of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And then once it gets to the more critical days, then they'll be more useful. And it gave opportunities for Emerson Hancock and Logan Evans as they were able to hold the fort as long as they can. And at least it got Emerson Hancock a spot in the bullpen, which I know he's still got ways to go, but it is nice to see that his velocity is hitting close to 100 each time he pitches that fastball in the bullpen. But now I want to get into talk about just the red hot month of September. Like after that Tampa series, we were kind of thinking, is this going to happen again? Is this 23 and 24 again? And then even after that Braves game, the very first one, we were all like, how are they going to recover from this? And then next thing you know, they won the series against Atlanta in an absolute impressive fashion. They completely swept the Cardinals and the Angels, but that kind of did happen. A lot of it was a little bit of luck and a little bit of grinding and like kind of like that they got out of it the skin of their teeth. But you know what? At this point, we look back in retrospect and sometimes we just forget how the wins even happened. So you know what? A win is a win. Was it ugly? Of course, but let's say I'll take an ugly win versus a beautiful loss, a beautiful looking loss. So
Amen.
I'll take it. But their offense has been just clicking. Their starting pitching, it's like up and down, but not disastrous. And then the bullpen, I'll just say it's volatile. But when they're on, they're on. Like there's games where they just don't even give up runs. They don't even know how to give up runs. And then there's games where they just completely just look lost. But I'll still take it because we've seen worse. We've seen 97 and 98, and we can agree that this bullpen is still light years ahead of them. And I know a lot of people are saying stuff like, oh, yeah, it was like that whole witch good luck charm thing where, yeah, that's cute to come up with like those superstitions. I mean, baseball is a sport of superstitions, but I think another guy that deserves credit as much as the witch does, it's got to be Mike Cameron. I can't believe that no one's really talking about this. I remember when I was streaming the games, I saw Mike Cameron on that bench, and I was like, "Hey, it's Mike Cameron. Maybe he'll give them an advice or two of how to win baseball games." But I think just that presence of his actually helped lifted the team because when we saw Mike Cameron, and a lot of you Mariner fans that are in a Generation Z or maybe very late Generation Y, many of you may not remember who Mike Cameron was, and he was known to be an excellent teammate for the team. He helped Ichiro get comfortable playing in the United States, and he did an admirable job filling in for Ken Griffey Jr. And to see him actually provide impact once again, a positive impact, I think that's something that deserves credit. And every time I type his name on Twitter X, it just says, oh, yeah, Mike Cameron's there. Oh, Mike Cameron did this in 22. Oh, Mike Cameron did this in 2002. But I feel like I'm the only one saying that Mike Cameron, I think, had a little bit to do with that momentum where I think that positive presence kind of brought that team into high spirits and to a more competitive attitude because that's what Mike Cameron was about back then. So that's just my opinion on, I think that's more of the reason why the Mariners got into a huge streak. Not the reason, but I'll give credit to that more than the whole witch superstition thing that everyone's really just talking about.
And there was a stretch a few years ago where Cammy was in the dugout. Remember, it was like the sage or something he brought in. Like he brought some, what do they call that? Incense or something that you know, to smell good into the dugout. I don't remember what year that was, 22 or 23. And then I think they went on and won a bunch of games in a row. I think it might have been 23. And then they went on a little bit of streak. So get Mike Cameron in the dugout for this homestand.
Let's get him to the playoffs, like because as much as Eugenio Suarez is all about that good vibes, why not add more with Mike Cameron? I mean, the smile, the way he connects with everyone, even connects with the fans. You got to bring him in for definitely bring him in for Colorado series. I'm going to say that. Bring him in for Colorado and the Dodgers and beyond. But yeah, that's the credit that I'm going to give it to is Mike Cameron. And what an amazing month the Mariners have had. Lots of exciting games, lots of exciting walk-off efforts. Also, the way that they were able to, like, I remember I had doubts going into Kansas City. I thought they're like, maybe a 1 out of 3, and I'll maybe take it. They won 2 out of 3. And just to think that the Mariners, they were literally just a good Matt Brash pitching performance away from tying. I think it would have tied the franchise record of 15 wins in a row had Matt Brash. I mean, I'm not going to give all the blame to Matt Brash because I don't think it's fair. It's also a collection of like, if that was a good time to bring him in, blah blah blah. Like, that's why you say it's baseball. But yeah, that's while you say your other opinions on this whole rest of that stretch between like the Cardinals and like end of Houston, like see had the Mariners won that game, would that have been 15 in a row?
Yeah, it's crazy that it would have been. I mean, like you said, you know, that was a frustrating game that they lost, but obviously, like when you win 15 games in a row surrounding it, you know, I can kind of let it go a little bit and go, hey, baseball, you know, you're not going to win them all. But yeah, really gutsy streak for the Mariners during this time. They pounded the Braves in the last 2 games, which was huge to see because that first game was really tough. Then they sweep St. Louis, 3 tough games. I think St. Louis actually had the lead in all 3 of them. But the Mariners managed to kind of claw their way back. I think they won. Did they win 2 of them in extras? I don't remember, to be honest. I know they had the Leo
They won
Rivas.
one in extras. They won one in
Okay.
extras. That was the Leo Rivas home run. That's when I lost my mind. That was
Yeah, that was
also
crazy.
personally that was also a pretty crazy week. Not going to explain why, but also the Angels game. That was also another walk-off
Harry
effort.
Ford. Yeah.
Harry
That was the
Ford with
Harry
that
Ford walk-off.
sacrifice. Yeah, Harry Ford
Yeah, that
walk-off,
was
and then a couple of exciting close wins against Anaheim, and then they just blew them out of the water on that Sunday game. So, and I did check; it actually would have tied the franchise record of 15 had they just won that game in Kansas City.
and then the magic number would be 2. But like again, when they're winning that many around it, but it is crazy. The one game they lost in this time, I mean, they were 6 outs away from a win. You know, now they won a couple games too. You know, like I said, they came back 3 times against St. Louis. That Angels game, that Thursday game was pretty crazy. The Harry Ford walk-off one. Friday, you got the home run, I think, off of, I don't remember who was pitching, but Garver had the big home run on Friday. Saturday was a close one. Then Naylor had that big hit with the bases loaded. Sunday, they crushed the Angels. And that's when you can kind of start to feel a little bit, feel them getting close to clinching. I'm with you. KC was a tough series, and especially, like you said, you know, with it being difficult, but also right before the Houston series. Easy to overlook that and kind of get your mind into Houston, save it, not saving, but having your probably better 3 pitchers go against the Astros. That Kansas City series could have been really tough, and they pull out the first game in a blowout. And I thought that third game was a really impressive win with Castillo pitching great, just getting enough runs. And then, you know, say no more about the Houston series that they just dominated. So really, really impressive. And the team getting it done several different ways.
Yeah, I mean, definitely complete opposite of what's been happening in the last 2 years. It just seems that the Mariners are they just seem completely locked in, and I can't even explain like how is it like Dan Wilson, is he really the guy? Like there are times where it's like, he doesn't seem like the guy. Maybe he's just following what Jerry DePoto does. And there's another game where it's like, oh, maybe it is Dan Wilson with he has his upbeat attitude. Like, he definitely, I would say, I hate to say it, I'd like to say he has more charisma than Scott Service. I think he does have a way of actually personally connecting with the players more than what we thought Scott Service was doing. I mean, this guy was the man who handled arguably the worst bullpen in the history of Mariners baseball. If he was able to handle that, I'm sure he can handle a team like this where they do win their games. And the other amazing thing that has also carried the Mariners is the fact that T-Mobile Park has really been an advantage to them. Like, I remember when the season started, people were talking about like, hey, is the T-Mobile thing like really suppressing? Is it gonna hurt? I was the one guy who was like, they still win their games at home, and look what they're doing. They are still winning their games at home, and sure, they're statistically slightly worse at T-Mobile Park, but the bottom line is they still figure out a way to win their games. So T-Mobile, I think at least for this year, at least until the Mariners make the playoffs, I would say T-Mobile Park has actually been an advantage. And I'll say it's been offensively suppressing the other team more than it has, quote, suppressed the Mariners. And plus, their approach to the plate has been a lot better. Like last year, it was just a bunch of swinging, hacking misses. This time, I will say they're definitely more patient on the plate than what I remembered from last year. Now, sure, there's occasional times where Julio, Arozarena, and Cal Raleigh are just whiffing everything. But then you look at everyone else that they're still trying to walk. They're still trying to wait for good pitches. So definitely a huge improvement for last year on that offense.
Yeah, and T-Mobile's really becoming a home field advantage. In the playoffs, it's going to be loud. It's going to be rocking. Again, fingers crossed. Got to get there first, obviously, but if they do, it's going to be a big home field advantage for the Mariners, and I think it's a fan base. I mean, we saw in 22 in that game 3, that place was loud. I mean, it had like kind of a college football feel to it with how loud it was. So, I mean, it really is. We've seen the 12s in what Lumen now. You know what I mean? How loud that place can get and how big of an advantage that was. Those are the same people, right? No reason T-Mobile can't be that way either. And I think it will be for the Mariners here. And yeah, they've been a great team at home. Not as good on the road this year, but figuring it out in the final road trip when it really mattered. Like you said, obviously the offense, of course, probably has better numbers on the road just because T-Mobile is more of a pitcher's park. But to your point, like, okay, like they've still been good there. So it's not something that's hurting this baseball team. It's helped their pitching. That was some of the concern with the road trip, right? Like some of these guys that pitched against Houston, not Woo's been great everywhere, but like Kilbert, I would say Gilbert and Kirby, combining them there to make Kilbert, I think had an ERA over 5 on the road, but at home, I'm sure it's in the 2s or 3s. So, they're definitely, like I said, maybe it's suppressed the other team's offense more. And I think what it comes down to is good teams win baseball games. You could put like, who's the best team of all time? Regular season 01 Mariners, 27 Yankees, 98 Yankees. I'm sure there's others, some of these Astros teams. You could put them in any stadium and these teams would win. Now, their numbers might maybe the ERA goes down a little bit and the offense goes up depending on where they are, but they'd still win games because they're good teams. You think the 98, not you particularly, but anybody, think the 98 Yankees would have lost if they played in, I don't know, like, Cincinnati, something like that? No, they would have won. Like, good teams win games, bad teams don't.
I mean, look at 2004. Parker / Safeco Field, they weren't there to save the likes of like Ryan Franklin and older Jamie Moyer, Gil. T-Mobile Park wasn't there for that. It was just a really bad baseball. But they just had to roll out that article, didn't they? Just because Mariners didn't do anything in the regular season, so there was really nothing to talk about. So they just had to roll that out. But now that we've talked about how hot of a September it has been, just my only nitpicker of the team, other than the bullpen, because we've already beat them like a dead horse, I've just happened to notice, I just can't help but notice, at least until late, because they've been playing a little bit more small ball, they still feel like the live and die by the home runs. And that is a dangerous thing to be very home run dependent going into the playoffs. If they make it, of course, knock on wood. It's just that you said it before in videos. They will be playing against more formidable pitching rotations, so the home runs may not be well depended on. Especially, we've seen it. The 1997 Mariners, one of the more forgotten playoff teams, a major league record at the time, 264 home runs. You had Junior, A-Rod, Edgar, Buhner, Russ Davis just for cracks and giggles. And they only managed a total of, it was like 3 runs there. That's 6, 7, and like they only managed a total of 8 runs in 3 games in that series with the most prolific offense and arguably baseball history in the modern era, especially the steroid era. And they still got silenced pretty handily against Mike Mussina and those kind of guys. So all I can say is I just hope they find a way to redevelop that small ball going to the playoffs. If they make it, I just have to knock on that wood. I'm probably gonna break my knuckles at one point, but now we gotta get into the magic number scenario because we are getting close to that running out of time. But here it is. According to this website, it's playoffstatus.com now. If any of you guys have any objections to this website, you know what? It's the best one I can think of. When I looked at it, I was like, okay, it's kind of legit. It's not saying it's like the real thing or credible thing, but it's a good guide to like follow. So here are the magic numbers. To get to the third wild card spot, the magic number is statistically 2. For the second wild card spot, magic number is 3, and that goes along with the first wild card spot and the division bare minimum to secure the 3rd seed. So your magic numbers for the first wild card spot is 2. Magic number for the first and second wild card spot is 3. For the division as the 3rd seed, which we still don't want, that is going to be the magic number 3. Now, the one that we all want, the 2nd seed over the Tigers, the magic number will be 4. So basically, if you want to get to the wild card, all you have to do is just lose. You just have to lose both series by winning a game. So if you want to get the last wild card spot, you just have to win 2 games. But to win the division at the bare minimum, you got to at least win the series against Colorado and win 1 game against the Dodgers, or just sweep them and get swept by the Dodgers and you still get division. But to get the 2nd seed, I would say the most bare minimum, I would say either win 2 out of 3 from the Rockies and the Dodgers, or to make it easier, sweep the Rockies and get that over with, and then just win 1 out of 3 against the Dodgers, which I'm pretty sure they can come up with. I'm sure they're going to come up with 1 win at least against the Dodgers, assuming the Dodgers get their division locked up so that they don't have to play like Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman on the full time. So all I'm going to say is the opportunity is there, but going into Colorado, just because they're a 100-loss plus team in the most humiliating fashion, I think we can all agree that the Mariners should still treat this team like they are their worst enemies, like as if they are the Houston Astros or a World Series team, because the last thing the Mariners have to do is take their foot off the gas pedal, which you would think it's there for them to keep it on because momentum's got to be there. They just swept the Houston Astros. They escaped the road trip going 5-1. So don't be complacent. Like, keep it going. Keep playing. Like, keep having that winning attitude. And also, Cal Raleigh, don't get too much hung up into hitting a home run. Just let it come to you. Now, sure, hit a home run. But any thoughts that you have on this crazy magic number scenarios that the Mariners do have?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, they're in great shape, no doubt. Like you said, I mean, if they don't even have to worry about anybody else. If they win 3 more games, they win the AL West. Doesn't matter what Houston does. Houston goes 6-0. Mariners win 3 games, they win the AL West. Doesn't matter what Detroit or Cleveland do. If you win 4 games, you're the 2 seed. One thing that's good, and the wild card thing, if they win tomorrow, I don't know when you're going to post the video, but if they win tomorrow, I guess if the Yankees win, I don't know how that all works out. They will be in a playoff spot. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Detroit's playing Cleveland. So someone has to lose those games. And then Detroit plays Boston. So someone has to lose those games too. So you're going to get kind of a boost from that. The Mariners are above all those teams. And they have the tiebreaker, I think, over all those teams as well. So that's why they would clinch a playoff spot. Good news is like Detroit, Cleveland, someone's going to lose there. So you'll have a chance to kind of dig into that magic number for the bye. Because if Cleveland, could pass Detroit for the division, you have the tiebreaker on Cleveland and you're, I think, 3 games up on them. If Houston loses 1 game, that magic number's down to 2 just from that. So it's going to take a lot. I mean, truthfully, the Mariners could probably win 2 games here in this homestand. And I would, no, that's not what I want. I'm like, go win the 4. Make it so you don't have to worry about anything. But you could probably win 2 games on this homestand, and I think you'll secure both. I can't imagine Houston's, not going to lose 1 game. The A's are tough, and the Angels are tough enough to get a game there. I think Houston finishes well. I'm going to say Houston goes 4-2 to finish. That means the Mariners have to win like 1 game to win the division. And then for the bye, Detroit's ice cold. That can turn in the second. They've got Scooble going tomorrow, so who knows? I'm going to say Detroit loses. Someone there is going to lose 2 between them and Cleveland. So I think if you win 2 games, you probably lock down both. But, you don't want to do that, right? You want to finish on a good note here. You want to go in. And to your point, like, this actually I do think could be a letdown spot against Colorado, kind of to your point, because you just came off the high of what you did against Houston. It's like tough not to almost take the foot off the gas mentally. That's going to be the toughest challenge, I think, for the team on this homestand. Maybe not so much with the Dodgers, because we know what the Dodgers can do, but with the Rockies, keeping that mentality. Now, the Rockies may be bad enough that even if you take your foot off the gas, you might be able to beat them. But to your point, like they have to keep that championship mentality through this series, because you're not really playing the Rockies in a weird way. You're playing yourselves. I know it's kind of like a cliche thing to say, but you've got to go out there and win these games and finish off this division title and do all that. If you don't, like, listen, the Rockies are a major league team. They've got Hunter Goodman's a good hitter. The pitching is really bad, but pitchers can be on. Like, bad pitchers can have good games. It's not the weirdest thing ever. So, I think tomorrow's kind of a key game. You want to get that one. I think gives you a deep breath. And then your magic number, worst case scenario, is 2 and 3. And it just gives you a little sigh of relief there. And then you figure, if Detroit loses tomorrow, then they're both at 2 for the magic numbers. So, they're in great shape, but they got to keep it going. It's not done yet.
Yeah, and I think you also mentioned, we talked about through the text, that if the Mariners and the Yankees win, that could actually, we could have a playoff clinching spot within the next 24 hours. So the thing is, looking at that magic number, it was basically, after looking at those analytics, those magic numbers on that website it's literally, I mean, any magic number is basically based on if every team went perfect, like 6-0 for the rest of the season, then yeah, that's the magic number. But also got to account the fact that if Mariners win, and like you said, Houston loses, that just makes things a lot easier and a lot more expedited. So there's going to be a lot of reasons to not only pay attention to the Mariners games, but I'm definitely going to probably have another phone on me and put like a, I don't know, like Houston game or the Tigers or Cleveland. But I think Houston's going to have the priority for have a second screen. So there's that. So that's all the magic numbers that I could think of. If any of you guys have more magic number scenarios, please put that in the comments. Like, put everything in the comments and let us know your thoughts of how you felt about this just roller coaster of a Mariners season. Like, I think this is one of the more roller coaster possible division runs that we have seen, because 95, of course, is going to be the biggest roller coaster. 97, well, they already had one at that point. 2001 was a landslide, but this one could be almost as up there as I'm not saying a 95 run, but at least a much more exciting run than the other ones that we have, other last 2 division championships that we have had. And it's crazy to think that it's been 24 years since the Mariners had won a division. Like, life was so much different. Like, this thing didn't even exist. The laptop I'm looking at didn't exist. We were like on Windows 2000. The XP didn't even come out. Like, the iPhone, the iPod was barely in birth. And I think, and Steve Jobs was barely rebuilding Apple. That's how long it has been since, and heck, We didn't even know what dating even was, both of us back then either. Maybe you, but definitely not me. So the point is, it's been a long time coming, and Mariners winning division is absolutely overdue. And now, final thoughts. All I can say is just keep the foot on the gas, Mariners. Like, stay focused. Treat the Rockies like they are your worst enemies. Like, you just want to squish them like a bug, get those 3 games over with, have everything else coming your way. So that way, the Dodgers series, best case scenario, can just be the series where you're just experimenting everything of like, okay, we should do this, make your unique lineups however way you want. So that way, we're not playing to the very last day and going, oh, crap, Mariners have to win this game to get this, and then the other team has to lose. Let's just get everything over with.
Yeah, 100%. The good news is, and I'm with you, I'm going to be scoreboard watching too, just because it's in our nature. But truthfully, Mariners don't have to. If they go out and just win these next 3 games, easier said than done, obviously. But if they do that, doesn't even matter. Houston scores have no impact on the Mariners. So they have everything they need. Same for the bye. All they've got to do is win a couple series at home against the worst team in baseball and a team, to your point, that's probably going to be locked into a spot in the postseason. If they do that, they don't even need to scoreboard watch. Now, obviously, if those other teams lose and they clinch all that beforehand, then great, and you can rest people. But they don't have to even look. They can just go in there, and the only team that matters is the Mariners.
Absolutely. And just want to say, Trident, thank you for joining. The funny thing is, this video was supposed to be me venting about my fantasy baseball loss, but because we have Mariners playoff spot, like possibly right there, it's like just had to just do a last minute change subject. And I want to give credit to Couch GM for basically inspiring me to do this, because as soon as I got the notification going, Couch GM's talking about Mariners playoff implications, I'm like, all right, change of plans. We're going to talk about stuff that actually matters and that our algorithm demands. Yeah. So one final request. Use our promo code Rooftop Sports to get your $20 off to enjoy a possible Mariners clinching game. You definitely want to be there. You want to be part of history, and use JS Trident in case that one doesn't work. I will put it in the description for both of you, so you guys don't have to just like, oh, what was that promo code again? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to make it easier for everyone, and everyone take care. Have a good day. Enjoy the week. And all I can say is,
all right, guys, goodbyes only. Don't forget it.
Stop it.
Thank you.